Okay. So why do they want to do that? It was a problem that my colleague and I had been looking at and proposed for hospitals because there are a lot of remote villages that can get electrocardiogram, but they don't have a cardiologist. They have to transmit the data to be read, and there has to be a cardiologist on site. And it would be good if there was a device that read and evaluated electrocardiogram right then. And so it's a problem that we've been addressing is can there be machine learning to evaluate the electrocardiograms to see if there needs to be a follow-up or immediate procedures. They're interested in putting a wearable device on people with heart issues so they can monitor them real time to see if they're having a heart attack or heart problems and therefore get to the hospital quickly for some reason. But you can't afford cardiologists to watch a whole bunch of patients all the time. You need to have artificial intelligence system tracking the electrocardiogram and following it up. And so that's a combination of wearables. It's a vest you put on. It has the little electrical things and a little strap you can tighten up or not tighten up. And then you just need this to be able to evaluate it on real time and give feedback to say, all right, hold still, relax a bit, don't quit grabbing your chest. Let me take a reading. Oh, you're having a heart attack. Go to the hospital, right? Or whatever it is. And those are the kind of problems that are engineering problems. I mean, it's just an engineering problem to figure out how to make the sensors work right, how to make the artificial intelligence read the thing correctly and communicate to the patient what the patient should be doing.
Muchas gracias, profesor. Tenemos otra pregunta.
So, what is it that started your interest for orthopedics? Like, how you started studying the universe and now you're studying the human body. What was the reason you decided?
So, I was given this as an example of how you take the techniques and the science and the discoveries from one area and apply it to another area where it will clearly make a big advance and a big difference. So, what I was doing that was in science. I would be working in some area, and my mentor would say, okay, before you start the next version of that experiment, look and see if there are other experiments you should do, or if somebody's developed a new technique or a new device that you could make the measurements with and make it much better. So I continue on to be doing cosmological and astrophysical experiments. I am doing this other stuff as a side interest and as something that I think is a way to stimulate it. So one of the things that you realize when you look around here, when you become a Nobel laureate, people come and listen to what you say. So when I tell people, you can make a revolution in medicine, people listen, but in some places, they will even give government grants or provincial grants from the province or the federal government to actually go work on this problem. Right? So the reason I have an interest in this is because I think I can make a difference in the world and I can set people on the next track. And if it's left to doctors to do, they'll think about better scalpels or better this. The EKG machines that read out very effectively now, the electrocardiogram machines that read out very well now, they were made by engineers. They have 6 probes or 12 probes, and they're carefully designed to get rid of loops, picking up of false signals and everything like that, and set in a way that they get rid of a lot of the noise, and they even give some hints to the operator as to whether that was a good reading or not. And so the engineers have already made a difference, but the doctors didn't think that, even though the doctors are supposed to have some training in physics and engineering. Doctors mostly remember their basic medical kind of things. And so if there are going to be changes that revolutionize medicine, they're going to come from scientists and engineers outside of the field and applying that and moving into that area. And so I can help initiate some of that as a Nobel laureate. As an engineer, many people can do that. And it's an area which, if you look at what fraction of the world's GDP is spent on medicine, it's around 5 or 6%. It's a very large number. So it's a business opportunity as well as a human opportunity.
Muchas gracias, profesor. Tenemos otra pregunta.
My question is, as Mexican students, what do we need to do to make this technology accessible for everyone in the future? Thank you.
Are you asking about this particular 3D printing technology for medicine, or are you asking about all technology? I mean,
I'm talking about this particular field of technology.
so the first thing is you have to be aware of the possibilities and think about the possibilities. So this is about thinking outside the box in the following sense. I didn't really think outside the box. I thought, wait a minute, here's a field that's very important. What can I take from other fields and apply here that can change things? And as soon as you're aware of it, you can start following and paying attention. And the question is, how are we going to make it available to everyone? Well, that depends upon what happens. My expectation by taking it to these hospitals is they will follow up on it. We will publish the results. It will become more common, and it will be relatively straightforward for most hospitals to buy 3D printers. Most hospitals already have 3D scanners if their questions are sufficiently accurate. It's a question of learning and using the technology, and then it's available to everyone. And the issue then is how to make it cheap. Right? And that's one of the things that becomes more interesting. And so I've seen a group of people who are trying to make MRI machines, of magnetic resonance imaging machines, much cheaper so that they can be sold to hospitals all around the developing world so that you can get high resolution. And they're using high temperature superconductors for the readout. Right? So if you don't know the magnetic resonance machines, they're actually usually superconducting magnets that produce a relatively high field to line the spins of the hydrogen nuclei in your body, which you have in all the organic materials, and then you excite it. Is he saying I'm going too fast? I can't tell what he's saying.
Thank you. Ya, tenemos una pregunta aquí y luego venimos con usted, profesor. Porque ya está el micrófono aquí. Adelante.
Hola, antes que nada agradecerle su presencia en este instituto y por sus conocimientos en esta exhibición de un premio Nobel. No me quedó muy claro la situación del rechazo del organismo a los nuevos materiales, cómo se hace para evitarlo a largo plazo y si esta tecnología será accesible al ciudadano común, o sea, tener precios accesibles. Gracias.
Okay, hopefully my microphone is working now and I have to hold it in the right place. Right now, things like titanium and the ceramics and the plastics are things that the body doesn't seem to reject. The question about becoming available for the average person has to do with first knowing that such a technology exists and learning how to do it other places by making that knowledge public. The second what will the cost of 3D printers and 3D scanners do? And so I was trying to answer the question about people that I know that are trying to make 3D scanners that are much cheaper by taking advantage of advances in material science. Not for the magnet itself, but for the sensors in the magnet. And but the fact is 3D printers are evolving fairly quickly. They're getting cheaper and cheaper. In Chihuahua, I saw some 3D printers. There were plastic 3D printers. I am told there is a titanium printer. I am sure that it's not beyond the resources of the town to buy a ceramic printer. And were Honeywell to realize they needed to make ceramic capacitors of a certain quality for aircraft or for rockets, for aeronautics, they would probably invest in getting something like that. When it will become cheap enough for hospitals, I don't know, but it's probably not that far away because as soon as you learn how to build them, when you build several of them, you can build them better. The issue becomes precision, that is, how precisely can you image the inside of a person? Can you do it sufficiently well? You can do surgery and you can 3D print parts that go directly to the person. And can you print that accurately? and the price of the printer goes up with the accuracy, but the prices of printers has been coming down. So my belief is that almost any major city, any city over 1 million people will certainly be able to afford this. And therefore, if you're from a smaller town, you will have to travel to a larger city to get access to this.
Muy bien, gracias. Bueno,
Doctor, tengo entendido que cuando un deportista se quiebra un brazo o una pierna, se forma alrededor de ese hueso un fuerte ligamento para seguir jugando, pero para que siga jugando a nivel profesional, tienen que ponerle un tornillo. Y usted habló de crecimiento de hueso. ¿Me podría aclarar ese concepto? Porque tengo entendido que el hueso no crece, sino sí forma un fuerte ligamento. Gracias, doctor.
Right. So in some treatments that people do, they replace the bone with you need to fix this or something? So in some places they replace the bone with inert material, and there's no encouragement for the bone to regrow or the cartilage to regrow. So one of the advances is coming in orthopedics, which is not so much an engineering, but is more a biological one, which is learning how to stimulate the growth of the cartilage and the bones. One of the things we found is that if you 3D print ceramics and you put biological material in there, the blood vessels and the bone will grow in. That's what that little movie showed in an animal. It's a time-lapse movie of an animal showing the bone going back in there. And in fact, in humans, we know you can grow additional bones. People who do weightlifting end up strengthening their bone. You know, if there's stress, regular stress on your bones, it sends electrical signals that tell the bone to grow stronger. Right? If you're putting more weight and more stress on the bone, and it just has to do with this stress and strain of the bone, whether it regrows, plus getting the material. And so that's where learning the biochemistry and learning the gene therapy will end up making a big difference in the future use of technological things that we had to overcome. And they were basically engineering problems in the sense we had to define what the scientific goal was and then what specifications we had, and could we build a device that would perform sufficiently well to make these goals. And that means collect the signal we want, not put in unwanted things, not produce extra noise, do all this kind of stuff, but be low enough noise and low enough what we're doing. Now, in studying the cosmic microwave background, we're trying to get 3 orders of magnitude more sensitive because we're trying to measure the polarization and look for gravity waves from the beginning, you know, from the inflationary period, the beginning of space-time. We're trying to do all these experiments that are extremely more difficult because we now understand from our previous discoveries there's much more rich material there if we can only develop the technologies and do those experiments. And people have been doing that. We build now, so one of the things we're working on in my lab is building detectors that are cooled down below 1/10 of a Kelvin so that they are superconductors. And then when a photon comes in, it breaks the Cooper pair up and makes 2 electrons in a normal band. And we measure we count the number of electrons, basically. So we know how many photons are arriving, and we put filters. But we're trying to develop one which produces many more electrons, so you count the number of electrons to measure the energy and separate it out. So there's a whole series of technologies we're developing where we're making better and better sensors, and that comes from understanding the materials, understanding the physics, going to lower temperatures or special conditions. So the answer is we've every step along the way in exploring the universe, we've had to go and make better technologies so that we can address more delicate, more subtle questions about what happened.
gracias, profesor. Tenemos otra pregunta. Adelante.
Well,
Perdón, nada más. Los que tengan pregunta, ¿cómo no se acercan al pasillo donde está el micrófono? Adelante.
well,
if you allow me to, I would like to ask you two questions. The first one, it will be if you had found any like setbacks with ethics and moral, because well, doing it all with genes and all that is usually taken like taboo or something by some part of society. And I was wondering if your team or yourself have found in these situations in which you found these setbacks because of this ethic or moral, setbacks.
I'm not sure I understand your question. What is the...
If you have found yourself in a situation where you're not allowed or you have some troubles to go further with investigations due to ethic or moral problems that might have with some people.
All right, so that's a tricky question because I've always thought that I've been lucky that many things work for me, but in fact, I have had to work really hard, and I've had many problems I've run into, many difficulties. The one that's famous that we know is when we proposed the satellite, we were required by NASA to launch it on the space shuttle. As you might know, the space shuttle blew up and grounded the entire fleet, and we were sitting there facing the chance that they might cancel all the projects. And we had to go and convince people that we could redesign our experiments and put them on an expendable launch vehicle until, so that we could go forward and conduct our mission. And that was a several-year effort to do. And so, when I gave the talk about LIGO and it took them 40 years to discover gravity waves, it was not that we, had a simple task that we just did it. Had everything gone right, it would have taken half the time it took. But we had many difficulties along the way, and there are always difficulties about getting funding or getting the opportunities or whatever. Life is like that. There's always some obstacles to overcome, but you have to be thinking what you're doing is important enough that you're willing to push hard and do it.
Gracias, profesor. Vamos con una pregunta de este lado, por favor.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a simple, quick, but it might be a deep question, taking into account all the experience that you have. Do you believe that artificial intelligence can make a person walk again?
Can artificial intelligence do what?
Can make a person walk again?
Walk again?
Yes.
Okay. So it depends upon the circumstances of that person. I have seen at several places, and I think I might have seen one yesterday here, places where people are making exoskeletons to put on people that have had problems with their, issues with their legs or paralysis or something like that. And I have seen several projects where people have both mechanical and, I would call it's a kind of it's not a very advanced artificial intelligence, but a kind of reasonable artificial intelligence that allowed people to walk, including walking up and down the stairs and doing those kinds of things. I think that is possible. You can see plenty of robotic devices now that are sufficiently intelligent that they can walk on uneven terrain and stairs and dangerous, complicated things like that. So I think it's possible. I think that is something we'll see happen, over the period from now till a few years from now. But it's sometimes I think we will be advanced enough in our medicine to actually repair the legs. Unless there's some kind of damage that you can't regenerate. That I think eventually the time will come we can begin to get legs to repair themselves. We can induce repairs. And you're talking about nerve damage to the spinal column or something
exactly.
like that. And so the answer to that is yes. The sooner the artificial intelligence and the sensors are put in, the sooner people can be using their own legs, the motor, because you start losing muscle mass and so forth. And so there are very interesting projects that were funded by the U.S. government, by the Veterans Administration, because there were many veterans coming back from Iraq have been through improvised explosive devices, and there is a company in Massachusetts, mostly in Boston, but in Massachusetts, that makes some very spectacular artificial limbs or adjustments that allow people to transmit the nerve signals, to pick up nerve signals from other parts of the body to drive limbs that were otherwise severed, right, from the spinal cord. And so every now and then when I get tired and everything, I think, well, I probably have enough money that I could go sit on the beach in Mexico in the shade of a palm tree and drink cervezas every day, And some days that doesn't sound so bad, but other days I think, it's good to stay engaged. It's good to think, this year I did some stuff I've never done before, and it's interesting and new. And I think, I want to do more. That's why I did this thing with the orthopedics and thinking about the thing about other healthcare stuff. I would like to see that I can transfer some of the things, the techniques and knowledge and things that I've had over in other areas and make other people's lives better, but to make things work a lot better in a certain sense. And so I don't think I've achieved everything, and that's because probably I have a big appetite. I overeat at the dinner table. I probably want to overeat at life. I think it's good to wake up each day and think there's exciting things that you could do today, right? That you didn't do the best thing. You didn't have your glory days 20 years ago, and you're going to spend all your time talking about that. That's why I didn't want to spend my time talking about the COVID discovery. I wanted to spend my time talking about what exciting new things I'm thinking about. And so the answer is, I hope to achieve more. Right?
Thanks.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Dos preguntas más. Empezamos por este lado.
Hola, bueno, tengo 16 años y estoy decidiendo qué estudiar. Es más, también una pregunta personal y en dos partes. Estoy decidiendo estudiar entre física de partículas y astrofísica. Creo que son campos que se relacionan muy bien. O sea, ok, bueno. Entonces, ¿qué es? Rayos. En su opinión, ¿cuál de los dos campos es mejor estudiar o no sé?
Okay, so I obviously liked physics, and I obviously spend most of my time doing astrophysics work. But when you study cosmology and astrophysics, you have to know a huge amount of physics. If you look at the universe, it's the progress of physics has been the work from low energies to higher energies, but the universe starts at a very high energy and works down to low energy. So when we have this example of the colliding neutron stars that I talked about this morning, that they're coalescing, then you have to know about nuclear physics, you have to know about atomic physics, you have to know about gravitation, you have to know a huge number of things, and it's kind of interesting to see how it fits together and what all goes on. And so the real question is, what do you get most excited about, and what do you find when you take the courses that you do the best in? What do you have the best skills for? Where can you go and contribute and understand? So I want to congratulate you to believing that you like physics. That's good. I was really surprised that we filled this tent with people at 9 a.m. to hear a physics lecture. That's, knowing college students, getting to the 9 a.m. lecture is hard enough, but a physics lecture is amazing. So I think it's great that you know that you like physics and astrophysics, and I think what you have to do for either one is study the basic physics to start with, and then by the time you're getting into college or graduate school, you can then decide which one you really like.
Gracias. Una última pregunta de este lado.
Bueno, primero que nada, muchas gracias por su presencia. Mi pregunta va un poco relacionada a la ciencia aplicada en la medicina. El director ejecutivo de la empresa Neuralink, Elon Musk, divulga mucho sobre crear un dispositivo que conecte por pulsos neuronales a la red, por así decirlo, al Internet. ¿Qué implicaciones éticas ve usted y sobre todo qué consejos podría darnos a la aplicación de este tipo de tecnología a los futuros estudios de la ingeniería?
Okay, so you touched on an issue which is actually a very broad issue. As technology advances, the implications for society are very great. Most people's lives, there's a huge difference between people's lives today than people's lives 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, because technology has actually shaped the way we work and we live. Many more people sit in offices and type on computers or work with machines that are computer controlled, whatever it is, than do other things. And so we didn't think about the ethics of that at the time. We thought that it made things better. It either made things cheaper and quickly or made people's lives easier in a certain sense. And what we're seeing is that it has made people's lives better in a lot of ways, but it has some impacts that aren't as good in other ways, because people are sitting at their desks rather than going around and doing other things, or they're getting isolated from their colleagues. But in fact, we see there's a tremendous social drive, but you can ask the question about connecting people to computers or computers to people, or genetically modifying people, or making cyborgs, or just making robotics that are so good they replace all humans, and ask yourself, what are the ethics? And the answer is that's an important question to ask, but the other important question is, what's going to happen anyway? What's going to go on? There's a kind of a race between all these various phenomena, which is, how is society going to change? How is society going to be different? And it's going to be different in your lifetime. I mean, not only is climate change coming in a serious way, but cultural change is coming in a very substantial way, and in a relatively short time scale. And so I think understanding the ethics is important, but understanding the limitations and understanding what's going to go forward and what the alternatives might be is also important.
Muchas gracias.
Disculpa, Rafa, ¿puedo hacer una última pregunta? Rápido, lo prometo.
Ándale, pues, la última, pues. Adelante.
Thank you. This year I found a startup that makes 3D printer designed specifically to make orthopedics and prosthetic, because we can print in harder plastic like polycarbonate or even fiber carbon. And I read some articles that says that it can develop materials that like a bones son materiales que están hechos de mango y de aguacate, del hueso del mango y del aguacate. So my question is Spanglish. So my company is very interested in working ceramic materials. When you say that materials that you are working, that materials are patent, or we can buy, or how can I get it?
Okay, I'm not sure I understand it all, but
and he wants to start working with ceramics. So he wants to know if these materials are patented or how can he get them?
Right. So I don't know if the materials are patented. Most of them are not. Most people keep the information on how they print these things sort of confidential, right? They keep it proprietary in the sense they don't apply for a patent. They just develop technology and they try and get a place in the market and be doing it before competitors come along. So I think that many of these aren't so distinct that the patents keep it separate. And the thing that I didn't talk about, and the reason I picked orthopedics was because it was an orthopedic hospital, but the other reason is that the printing of other organs like kidneys is a little further away. So one of the things you may or may not know, there's many more people waiting for organ donations than there are donors. And so the fact that you will eventually be able to print kidneys and much further in the future print hearts, that can really be an effect on this kind of thing. Now, printing ceramics, there are different kinds of ceramics to print. And you can probably commercially buy ceramic printers that'll print sort of ceramic dishes and ceramic vases and things like that. The special kinds of ceramics, I think there's some proprietary things in order to make watertight or airtight ceramics and things like that. But I think it's quite possible to get these in some way, and everybody has to know what is your goal with this material. Printing the bones, you're printing this foam-like structure. That's a very different kind of thing to print than printing a solid object or something. And so I'm not exactly sure what question you're asking, but if you just want to get in the business, you probably can just buy a ceramic printer. If you want to get in the business of a specific kind of ceramic, you may have to look and see if people who are printing this have done some secret step and so forth. Though people that I did a review of people who invented a ceramic process for making ceramic capacitors in order to make them work, in high pressure water or in vacuum and so forth. They were trying to design them to be a special kind. And they claimed to have a special process.
Muchas gracias, profesor. Muchas gracias por inspirarnos, así como por responder las preguntas de los participantes. Esperamos que al escuchar las experiencias del profesor Smoot crezca aún más su interés por las ciencias. Y antes de finalizar, les pedimos que nos apoyen con su retroalimentación sobre esta conferencia, respondiendo la encuesta que encontrarán en la aplicación móvil. Además, los invitamos a visitar la exhibición tecnológica de Honeywell que tenemos aquí a un lado, y aprovechen la ocasión. Hay ingenieros ahí con los cuales pueden interactuar y hacer preguntas sobre la tecnología que tenemos. Agradecemos su participación en esta conferencia magistral El Camino al Descubrimiento, y al Instituto Tecnológico de Chihuahua por todas las facilidades brindadas para esta edición de la iniciativa de Honeywell para la ciencia y la tecnología. Hasta pronto.